Our discussions for this Thursday morning, the 4th of September 2025, do start off. I am Priscilla Regina Naluoga. I'll be taking you through our tech note this morning that is going to be focusing on the digestion of the Youth Manifesto as we are shaping up for the general elections 2026. Youth have been called to actively participate in these elections, and we have seen them actually positioning themselves strategically either to stand for elective positions or to actively be in the civic space about their rights and what they must do responsibly to be part of this electoral cycle. So last Friday, the National Youth Manifesto 2026-2031 was officially launched with youth representatives from across the country presenting the manifesto's key asks to the youth leagues of various political parties. The Electoral Commission nomination exercise for local governments so far has seen a lot of youth fronting their interests. The bigger question is, how ready are they to take on the mantra of leadership against the existing tides? Now we're joined by Martin Wanzara, who is the team lead with the African Youth Development Link, and is going to be discussing with us more on this matter. Good morning to you, Martin.
Good morning, Priscilla.
How are you?
I'm okay.
All right, so let's start off with an overview of what you have seen so far. I think last time we had a conversation, we were having a conversation around active youth participation in electoral cycles. What's your assessment of this so far?
I think I would say 50-50 because over time, over the past 5 years, for example, leading up to the current election season, we've seen quite a lot of enthusiasm from young people, showing a lot of willingness to be part and parcel of electoral process through different avenues, especially through political parties, through civil society spaces, through presenting themselves as independent candidates. But then most of this enthusiasm then fizzles out in the face of repression or government action, intimidation. We've had quite a number of complaints about kidnaps here and there. And so, yeah, while young people are excited, we acknowledge that there are still quite a number of challenges that curtail their participation. Maybe just before I forget, one of the other biggest impediments of young people's participation is the cost of participation. Because, I mean, even you've seen that even before we head actively into the actual election season, there's lots and lots of money doing rounds within the election, absolutely. And so that's a big impediment for young people's participation.
Okay, those are the realities on ground. Let's talk about the National Youth Manifesto. 2021-2026, what have been the successes that have been achieved courtesy of that manifesto's running?
I think the biggest success that the manifesto has done is bringing to the fore the issues of young people, the issues that are most important to young people, in as far as making them known both to the young people themselves and also to the leaders, because we've seen over not only actually the last cycle alone, but right from 2011, because this is the fourth manifesto we are doing. So we did the first in 2011, second in 2016, the last one was in 2021. And over time, we have seen that much as people think that the manifesto is not effective, we realize that people pay attention to what it is that the manifesto espouses. For example, you have seen quite a number of government programs coming up to address the issue of youth unemployment, for example. We've seen the first was the Youth Venture Capital Fund in 2011. 2016, we came up with the Youth Livelihood Program, which by far is probably the most successful youth program so far. And then in the last cycle, we had the Mioga, which has mixed, reactions. And so for us, being able to make the government stop and listen is one of the biggest successes. Two, we had the government spends quite a lot of money on procurements in public works, And yet these present a big opportunity for the locals. But young people were never previously thought about in such processes. And so one of the other things that we asked for in the previous manifesto was the expeditious passing and implementation of the local content policy. And I would like to say that at least that's been one of the tips, yes. And of course the increased, enthusiasm, like I said, and participation of young people in, governance and electoral political processes.
Okay, so walk us through the next manifesto that will be running 2026 to 2031. What are some of the manifesto, priorities that you are pushing into the next manifesto that were not realized in the current manifesto? And then two, what are the new ones that you are bringing on board in the next manifesto?
Thank you, Priscilla. First, one of the things that, of course, the issue of youth unemployment, I think that is one that will not go away very soon, because yes, while the government has done quite a number of things to try to address this issue, there's still a lot that needs to be done. Yeah, like I talked about, it's one thing for the government to pass some of these laws, like the local content policy, but it's another actually making it work, because while the policy is there, the government continues to prioritize the interests of investors as opposed to the interests of the citizens. And so it is important that the government pays attention to ensuring that, yes, we protect investors, but also let the interests of the local citizens be protected. The issue of the minimum wage. We have sung the song about minimum wage for far too long, and the government has so far not paid attention to that. And yet, a young person goes to school, spends quite a number of years. You spend about 4 or 5 years in university looking for a degree, hopeful that when you come out, you're going to get. Yeah. When you come out, someone simply decides how much you. So having that bare minimum of what a young person can at least earn for the degree that they have pursued is important. Then, so that's employment. Then two, the issue of education. We need to ensure that the education service that we provide our young people is of the right quality, it is relevant to the market, and it is all inclusive. The other issue that we are pushing from the previous manifesto has to do with health and the sexual and reproductive health rights of young people. This has to do with accessibility, affordability, availability of adolescent health, rather adolescent-friendly health services, issues of mental health, issues of HIV/AIDS, and the like, issues of drug abuse. That's quite a bit. Menstrual health. It's one of the biggest impediments to the education of the young child, the girl child. Then the issue of what we talked about earlier, governance and participation. We need more and more young people to be enabled to participate. And like I talked about, one of the biggest impediments is the cost of participation.
All right.
Most of our leaders don't want young people to
Speaking of that, what do you make of the case of the youth leagues through the NRM? Last week, they had contentious issues that led to the suspension of the elections. So right now, they're in a space that has no pillars, no walls, no direction.
I think what I saw, or what has been the biggest talking point around that was the issue of unfairness. I think whatever or whoever it is that, irrespective of whoever is participating in the election, it is important that everybody is given a fair chance to compete against one another. And so that whole issue, again, and goes back to commercialization. Those that have access to enough resources were seen to, or are being seen to use those resources to curtail others from, for example, accessing delegates, accessing voters, and the way the youth league or the way the party primaries are conducted is more or less the same way the electoral colleges work. That you have a particular number of voters that you know that are going to participate in this election. And so if you have access to them, you can easily pick them and hide them somewhere. If you have the resources to do that, you can do it and make sure that your opponent doesn't. And for me, I think that that kind of has a direct implication on the free will of the young person.
All right. We have seen the lower electoral processes that have been conducted through the Electoral Commission so far having a lot of violence, especially as far as youth and special interest groups are concerned. There's been a lot of chaos, a lot of violence. We've seen that back in the 2021 general elections. We are seeing more youth engagements and active participation in the elective positions in this cycle, meaning that that could be translated into heightened violence that is primarily dominated by young people. How are you actually going to address that particular issue so that we have better leadership through the young people?
For me, thank you, Priscilla. I'm glad that you raised that question. For us as the youth movement, we believe that young people's participation in electoral processes or in political processes should not be based on tokenism or material short-term material gains. We believe, and that's the gist of the manifesto, we believe that young people's participation should be informed by issues, real issues that are pertinent to them. And so through the manifesto, we think the manifesto provides an opportunity for young people to have what we call issue-based participation. And so I believe that if young people can focus on that and not be swayed by, because why young people become violent is it goes back to what I talked about, the issue of unemployment and economic vulnerability, where because they are in that position, they are prone to being manipulated and being used. What they don't know is someone is giving you little money to use you, but the implications of what you are helping them do are far and are bigger and far-reaching.
Yes. Martin, let's talk about the manifesto implementation, or even enforcement thereof, especially through the national youth leagues in the different political parties that we have currently running. How is it being adopted and implemented so that these messages can be greatly instilled in the younger generations?
So we have, as now the manifesto is, maybe what I didn't say earlier on is that the youth manifesto is coordinated through a special purpose vehicle called the Youth Coalition on Electoral Democracy in Uganda. Mm-hmm. Now, under this coalition, we have constituent formations, including civil society, and there's a formation that brings together leaders of different political party youth leagues. It's called the Interparty Youth Platform, IOP. Now, IOP is one of the founding members of the coalition, and so through that, the framework of IOP, we're able to ensure that the leaders of the youth leagues are part and parcel of the manifesto process right from the beginning up to when the actual manifesto comes out. Mm-hmm. You know, that way it kind of provides an opportunity for ownership. So such that if they own these, then we believe that they are the carriers, they are the champions of the youth issues or the youth agenda within their political parties. And so we are optimistic, just like it was previously, that the leaders that we work with through the Interparty Youth Platform and the Multi-Party Youth Forum that is coordinated by the NIMD, mm-hmm. we believe that these issues will be taken by the youth leaders in those spaces and championed within their different political party structures. Okay. But I'm glad that we talked about the local government elections that are coming up. For me, I believe that there is also an opportunity. Beyond, you see, the biggest challenge that we have had as young people is waiting for our leaders for our leaders to take the issues. But I believe and that has to do with the mindset that is sold to the young people that you are the leaders of tomorrow. But we are here today as well. And so I believe that the local government elections provide an opportunity for young people to take leadership at the grassroots level. Mm-hmm. And so that should be grabbed with both hands by young people. Present yourselves, but also not everyone will be the leader. So for those that have presented themselves, let young people support them, or support the leaders, even if they're not youth, but leaders who adopt their issues.
All right, Martin, you see now this is a case of two relations. There's the young people, then there's their leaders. So what is the message to the leaders equally to uptake some of the young people's issues, or to even make room for the young people to actively participate in democracy?
The message to the leaders is that the manifesto is not, as the youth agenda or the manifesto is not a war against the leaders. It's not us declaring that we are against them, no. It is actually an agenda that through which we want to promote inclusive development. And so we believe that first of all, young people are the biggest number or the biggest part of the population. And if you are interested in developing the country, developing the community, then you focus on the biggest proportion of the population. Besides, I believe if young people do better, then everyone else is better.
Martin, as we close off this conversation, what's your call to action to the young person out there, especially one that is actively participating in this electoral cycle?
Thank you, Priscilla. My call to action to the young person out there is, like I said, the elections are here. We have begun with the nominations for the local government leaders and local council leaders. That presents an opportunity for you as a young person to present yourself as a candidate, but also it presents an opportunity for you to sieve and see who of those that are presenting themselves is pro the issues that are pertinent to you, especially as espoused within the Youth Manifesto, and make sure that you support them. But beyond that, the manifesto is not just about elections. It's about it's a continuous, it's a tool for continuous engagement, continuous accountability. Beyond elections, ensure that you run with these issues, use them to engage with the leaders to ensure that the manifesto is actually implemented to the letter.
And that is because they are everyday issues. They're not limited to elections. No, they're democratic issues, they're governance issues that we deal with on a daily basis as a nation, especially predominantly of the young people. It is Martin Wanzara from the African Youth Development League. Thank you so much for that. As we go